Hello, I'm jumping on today because I want to talk about recognizing and overcoming low self-esteem. I want to talk to you about what is low self-esteem, how do we recognize it, and the strategies that we can use to build ourselves up. And at the end, I'll talk to you about how you can contact me and ask me any questions. So, what is self-esteem? It's a word that's kind of thrown around a lot. People claim very easily. It comes up in nearly everything that I speak to clients about. There's a low self-esteem issue there. It may be that it's not recognized as low self-esteem or understood. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it today. So self-esteem is basically, in simple terms, how we think about ourselves. Low worth, not enough, low value, we compare and we judge ourselves negatively. That's anywhere where we're doing that's low self-esteem. So how do you recognize it? Number one is you listen to your language. Language is the windows of the soul. We learn an awful lot about ourselves by how we speak to ourselves, because 95% of our behavior, of our patterns, of how we show up in the world is unconscious to us. It's outside of our awareness. And what we're doing here through deeper inner work, which I do with people, is I help people to become more aware and lean in to take action to establish new patterns. So when we speak and when I listen to somebody speak, I'm always trying to teach you or point out how you're speaking to yourself, because most people don't even know, not aware of it, don't hear it. So when we put ourselves down, when we compare ourselves negatively to others, or when we compare ourselves to like a social standard or a familial standard, generational standard that we have to maintain. So like the way that we think that we need to be or should be in our life compared to what. And you know, this is an issue today with particularly with young people, where social media is presenting an image that isn't a true reflection of what's going on in the world. And when we compare ourselves to this image of perfection that is sometimes presented, we can see ourselves negatively, and that's what I'm seeing. So number one is to listen to your language, how you're speaking to yourself, what you're saying to yourself, how you're comparing yourself to others. Number two is we look at our behavior in the world and what we're getting back. So how we're behaving, that gives us information. If we're behaving in a certain way, then it tells us a lot about what's going on behind the scenes and what we're getting back in the world. So for example, if we're always experiencing, or a lot of the time we experience difficult relationships, for example, if you are very if you attract dominant partners into your life and you play the submissive role and you keep doing that, then that will give you some information about how you think about yourself and your own self-worth, which is another big video, but just to point it out here. Things like our health, chronic health conditions, we can, when we're getting that back in the world, it tells me that there's a lot of internal stress and non-acceptance of who we are in the world. And that's one of the things that I often see. Maybe struggling in business with visibility, putting ourselves out there, maybe struggling with financial, maybe you've got the business sorted, but you have not got the relationships sorted. So places that, so when we look at our behavior, places where we allow other people to decide our worth, our value, who we are. We seek validation in external relationships, in accolades, in qualifications, in learning, in jobs, in how we dress, how we look, how we speak, how we show up. All of these things that we're looking outside to the outside world for someone to validate us, for someone to agree with us, where we don't trust in our own wisdom, trust in ourselves. We look for other people to validate our decisions, maybe. So most people are not aware of the way in which they're showing up in the world, partly because we become identified with a behavior. So behaviors and patterns, we're mostly made up of patterns which we've repeated many times. So when I point out a behavior or pattern to somebody, it's very familiar to them. They may not have realized how it's holding them back, or how often they do it, or what it means. They may have a very low self-awareness, but it will be very familiar. It's not a complete surprise ever. And all of this will have its foundations in our childhood trauma, conditioning, belief systems, and societal and familial standards. So where we're kind of seeking this perfectionism, perfectionism is something that doesn't exist, and but for many, it's like nothing is ever good enough. If you look at how we look, how we do in our jobs, or our homes, or how we dress, or like OCD behavior at an extreme level, is the search for perfection in the outside world in order to help us to feel safe in ourselves. But it never works. When we have low self-esteem, we will feel insecure, but that safety is coming from within us. It's not coming from these outside things that we will be constantly searching and seeking, like the horizon. We're constantly looking and searching for the horizon, but we never really get there. We can't, because we can't get there, because you can't get to that place. Wanting to fit in, addictions are ways in which we distract ourselves from ourselves. So we fill our life with our jobs, busyness, sport, TV, social media, alcohol, drugs, gambling. We fill our lives with so much, so that we never have to look at ourselves. We never have to kind of really delve deep and look at what's going on for us. And that's a very familiar pattern. So does any of that I've spoken about sound familiar to you? For most, there'll be something that I've mentioned already that will be familiar, and even for myself, it is a constant work in progress. I've done a lot of deep inner work with professional coaches and therapists and all sorts. But it is something that I've learned to, I guess, I don't know if enjoy is the word, but it is my way now, is to look at my own experience first before I will look out to the outside world, and that is a work in progress. but it is a lot easier than it used to be. So number 3, the strategies for building up your own value and your self-worth, for building your, for esteeming yourself. So this is a journey, right? It requires patience, it requires self-reflection, and it requires a commitment to nurturing a positive and realistic view of yourself. So we're really here exploring and delving deep into your psyche, uncovering unconscious patterns, questioning reality, breaking through belief systems, breaking through limits by leaning into first raising awareness and then leaning into action. So we're one of the key points here is how we relate to ourselves. This is numero uno. How we are in relationship to ourselves is how we are in relationship to others, our intimate partner, our family, our friends, our work colleagues, our bosses, even things, everything comes back to our own relationship to ourselves. And when we start to build our relationship with ourselves through the things that I'm talking about now, self-awareness, for example, and then leaning into taking action, then we will we build that up, but we esteem ourselves through lots and lots of tiny steps. It's not, whoa, this is happening, I'll just do this and I've esteemed myself. It's the moment when you're about to do something or say something to yourself that denigrates you to the rubbish heap, that you don't say that. It's the moment that you either don't say that, or you don't say that and you say something else, like I believe in me, I am enough, I choose me. Every time we do that, it's a cumulative effect. Like lots of tiny drops make up a beautiful lake. Lots of tiny moments make esteem you as a valuable, worthy, beautiful, loving, kind, thoughtful person in the world. So relationship to self, and a huge part of this is how we take responsibility. We take responsibility for ourselves. And, this is about owning our own triggered reactions, our own reactivity, our own discomfort, owning it and moving through it, moving through our emotions, meeting ourselves, our trauma, part of our healing, meeting our inner child, if you like. It is a strategy is about learning to accept ourselves, and that again, it's a journey. Acceptance is, this is as it is. There's nothing to change. Because essentially here, what we're doing with these strategies is we're unlearning our behaviors. We're unbecoming. We're stepping back into ourselves rather than adding more. We're actually unlearning and shedding layers and removing these parts of ourselves that we've learned that have kind of fragmented or separated us out, rather than seeing our own wholeness and our own love and brilliance, just as we are. So another point here is about standing in our own power. So this is really, again, it's a practice in the beginning. Every step we take where we choose ourselves, we catch ourselves talk and we lean into silence or into self-kindness, whatever is appropriate. Every time we choose ourselves, we stand in our power. the cumulative effect of that is that, you know, the realization that nobody outside of us can hurt us emotionally. Obviously, we separating physical from emotion, but here we're talking about emotional safety, and that comes from within us. So as we realize that we, you know, we don't need to change. We don't need other people to validate us. We don't need approval. We cannot be rejected by another person. That's another clip. We can't be rejected by another person. How could we be? It's a state of mind. It's a thought. It's something that we believe about ourselves. And I will say, to get help from a professional, from someone like myself, a professional life transformation coach, or a therapist, because this work can be very difficult to do on your own, and or even if you know somebody who has been on this journey who can help you. But this work, it can be done. Also, there's lots of books you can read and YouTube clips like this, and some of my other YouTube clips or my blog. You know, you can ask questions. There are lots of ways of getting help, but it's very difficult to call ourselves out. It's very difficult for us to catch ourselves. It's very difficult for us to see our patterns. If we could see them easily, well, we probably wouldn't be doing them because they're not helpful. But you know, most of these are deeply ingrained, and and we are masters as well at avoiding and distracting and withdrawing and ourselves. So once again, it requires patience, time, self-reflection, and a commitment to nurturing a positive and realistic view of yourself. So if you would like to comment, I'd love if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment below, hit the like button if you've watched it. I'd love to hear from you. Any questions that you've got, I will always give you a pointer that will help you to get to the next step. And so I would love to hear from you, and thank you for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed this clip and found some value in my words. Lots of love. Bye.